Despite having fortunes in the billions, people like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and Gautam Adani are still poor compared to the businessmen, emperors, and kings of the past. So what is the greatest amount of wealth that a person might ever amass in their lifetime? If your guess falls below $100 trillion, well, you're about to be surprised. We're Deluxe Living, and we're here to give you a taste of how the 1% live. Today, prepare to be amazed at these ultra-wealthy individuals. Don't forget to like this video, press subscribe, and hit that notification bell so we can keep you up to date with everything deluxe and more. Number 6. Mansa Musa. Being wealthy and from Mali sounds like the start of a pretty bad joke nowadays. However, the norms back then were a little bit different. Musa I, the Emperor of Mali, was thought to be the richest man on the planet at that time, with an estimated net worth of $415 billion in today's money. Europe was one of the worst places to live in 1312, the year Mansa Musa took the throne. The country was torn apart by famine, ongoing wars, and many epidemics. The Black Death was approaching and would soon devour the entire continent. As a result, a few African kingdoms had the chance to grow and prosper, with Mali at the top of the list. Once in charge, Musa overcame Timbuktu, which at the time rivaled Constantinople as the most significant trading city in Africa. Musa rapidly became the richest man on earth thanks to the economic benefits of his conquest. He traveled to Mecca in 1324 with an enormous caravan that stretched as far as the eye could see as a display of his immense wealth. Musa had tens of thousands of people in his entourage and hundreds of camels and horses pulling heaps of wealth, and he erected mosques wherever he stopped so that he could properly pray to Allah. Local economies everywhere he visited were left in ruins. Musa's wasteful spending caused high inflation to happen quickly and local economies to be unable to keep up with it. That is how you successfully conquer a nation. You make the villagers so wealthy that their economy can no longer support them. Number 5. King Solomon. According to the Bible, King Solomon was the world's richest king, and everyone is aware of the reliability of the Book of Books. King Solomon, according to the Old Testament, got about 25 tons of gold per year for 39 years. That is sufficient to construct a palace entirely out of the golden bricks without being required to give them to anyone. It's almost the same as Lego, but slightly more expensive. According to experts, Solomon's riches throughout his reign, as a result of this tribute, taxes, and other income, would have been equivalent to about $2.2 trillion in today's money. Naturally, we can't expect to see the monarch spending his money on alcohol, drugs, or women, owing to the nature of the information source. The Bible, on the other hand, argued that all of his expenditures were wholly moral. He even constructed the first Jewish temple in Jerusalem. Number 4. Augustus Caesar. Although it may sound like Vladimir Putin will declare himself the first emperor of the largest nation on earth any second, he won't be the first to do so. Around 2,000 years ago, Augustus Caesar carried out the identical action, and it unquestionably benefited him. With his straightforward political action, Augustus acquired wealth that in today's dollars would be worth $4.6 trillion. This incredible net worth appears a little far-fetched until you consider that Augustus personally owned Egypt, which was in charge of feeding half the empire. Yes, Caesar had the option to sip his coffee within the pyramid or atop the Sphinx if he so desired. In addition to possessing a whole nation, his uncle Julius left at least 10 million gold pieces to Augustus. The estimated value of the 10 million gold coins in today's dollars is $200 billion. As Augustus combined his personal resources with those of the Roman Empire, a large portion of his money was used to build infrastructure, including roads, monuments, and temples. Additionally, several million were spent yearly on public amusement as the emperor paid for gladiator battles, chariot races, and other sporting activities. His personal army of 250,000 troops, though, was perhaps his most prized possession. He lavishly paid them since they were essential to his plans to maintain his power over the nation. In modern currency, this would have cost Augustus around $250 million annually. So what do I say? This fair exchange is more than justified in order to maintain power, rule the largest nation on the planet, and gain $4.6 trillion. Compared to the next list of ultra-wealthy men, the previous entries might be thought of as unlucky hobos. But of course, before we move on, remember to hit that thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome videos like this. Number 3. Akbar I. If you ask someone what the Mughal Empire was, they probably thought it was some new virus that would put the entire planet under yet another lockdown. Yes, the former Far Eastern Empire that once controlled the majority of the Indian subcontinent, as well as the region south and west of the Himalayas, hasn't had much of an influence on Western civilization. However, its influence was quite important for South Asia. Its significance is mostly owed to Akbar I, who is thought to have reigned over 25% of the world's GDP at one point. Of course, this lessens the significance of its staggering riches of $21 trillion a little bit. However, everybody can recognize what an absurd sum of money that is. I would undoubtedly live a quiet and modest life if I had $21 trillion. But Akbar had a different plan. Even by today's standards, he had a wealthy and extravagant lifestyle. In Delhi Agra and Fatehpur Sikri, Akbar constructed 3 magnificent palaces for himself, which he lavishly decked with so much gold that Donald Trump would have an aneurysm simply by gazing at them. Silk, marble, and a ton of artwork were used to embellish the interior as well. Akbar I was an avid supporter of the arts and spent millions on a variety of paintings, books, music, and other works of art. He even attempted to combine Islam and Hinduism to form his own religion. While you might assume that this was an act motivated by his ego, it was actually a political ploy intended to unite a country that was brutally divided along religious lines. Unfortunately, it failed and India would suffer the consequences for many centuries. Number 2. Emperor Shenzhang of Song. There are benefits to becoming the Chinese emperor during one of the richest eras of the nation's history. Between 1067 and 1085, Shenzhang ruled China, bringing a great prosperity with him. The country experienced peace and economic progress as a result of new social policies that provided much-needed help to the poorest farmers. Over 30% of the world's GDP was reportedly under Shenzhang's control at the time. According to experts, the emperor reportedly owned the equivalent of $30 trillion during the height of his power. Of course, Shenzhang lived opulently in palaces that remain notable symbols of architecture. However, the majority of his funds were spent on improving the lives of his subjects, and there aren't many records that may be used to learn more about his own preferences. And of course, the wealthiest man on our list, Genghis Khan. One may readily picture a well-educated visionary with access to authority, an entrepreneurial spirit, and a talent for trade and company growth while discussing the richest individual in history. Genghis Khan, on the other hand, was none of above. The Mongol emperor managed to amass a fortune worth more than $100 trillion. Despite the fact that he is best remembered for his horrific battles, which brought destruction, mayhem, and massacres all the way to Europe, I wouldn't advise learning business lessons from this leader because he destroyed about 10% of the world's population in just 20 years. In fact, the first bioweapon was created by Genghis Khan. Alright, that qualifies as a form of innovative thinking. Due to the strategies Genghis Khan utilized to dominate half of the known globe, 2 centuries later, the bubonic plague once again wiped out the planet. Around 25% of the world's population was killed this time. That's how you leave a legacy. Born into slavery, Temujin, Genghis Khan birthling, generally shared his enormous wealth among his followers. He did have a lot of wives, and he had a lot of children from all of them. Thankfully, he had $100 trillion to cover all of his alimony. So it seems that all it takes to become one of the richest people in history is to dominate a nation with an iron fist, inject its economy with your own fortune, and treat your neighbors badly. Now, if this video inspires you somehow, I'm sure you'll want to watch out our other awe-inspiring videos as well. Press the like button and subscribe for more of deluxe living.